Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of The Shadow Side with Safrianna. I am so delighted today to be joined by Jennifer, one of the most fascinating souls I have met in a while, with just an incredible understanding of the universe, I'm going to say. And I'm so excited to be talking about, I feel like, a really timely and important topic right now, which is the addiction to struggle. So I can't wait to dive into this. But Jennifer, if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. My bio says I'm a soul whispering, BS-incinerating, divine codebreaker who moonlights as an intuitive strategist, but secretly operates as a full-time interdimensional translator for soul's deepest truth. So we're going to go with that. What I really do is I help people, connect to their soul to create freedom and momentum in their life, and to know that they're safe to be seen and heard so they can receive from their big acts of service. So that's me. And when I'm not doing that, I have an amazing boyfriend, two Australian blue healers who are crazy, and one has extreme gas right now. So if you see me
Fretting during the podcast,
bad,
it's the puppo with gas.
um, my partner gives her raw liver,
Oh God.
and it's great for her code, and she's really happy. But the after effects is really bad.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah,
bless. We do it live here and we just roll with the flow. And sometimes the animals get involved. And
yeah. And this time, so when I got to tell the story. When I first got my yoga ball chair, I went on a Zoom like shortly after, and I sat on it and I went boom right off of it. Like I fell right off of it. And I got back on and I was like, okay, come on, everyone. We're not going to acknowledge that I just fell off my yoga ball chair. And they're like, I'm like, I fell it. Like, it was like a Zoom, like a crazy moment. Can we just acknowledge that? So, yeah. So I'm kind of quirky and I'm embracing it. I
yes,
like it.
you are in the right place for that. So, just in case you don't know me, I'm Safrianna Luna, the queer spirit guide, and I am here to embrace the wild, weird, and woo of the world. And
Love
I
it.
just cheer on the people who feel different and quirky to embrace who they really are at the soul level and connect with planet Earth. And so I loved all of the multidimensional universal aspects of what you shared, but we're going to start by grounding into the reality today that so many of us are deeply addicted to struggle. We have been taught that struggle is a sign we're doing good.
Oh,
And so I want to just throw you the ball right away. Aside from we're taught, can you talk a little bit about what it means to be addicted to struggle and why?
yeah, I have warrior nature, and if you have warrior nature, you're nodding your head right now. So I won't explain it. Um, and we tend to be addicted to the struggle because it feels like we're making progress. Most of us are taught to fight for what we want, and that creates struggle. And even in our like best moments where things are flowing, we're just waiting for that shoe to drop. And I think it's a human condition, and I also think it's a condition of the culture that we are in. I'm a United Statesian. We don't say American because there's a South America, everyone, so they're Americans too.
Yep.
And we tend to be like rough and tough. I mean, like we forged this country like by cutting down bush, right? So we tend to be like, let's make it happen, let's do it, let's make it. And so when it's easy breezy, or when it's like feeling like, oh, that went too smoothly, we feel incomplete. And so I think that's where the addiction is. It's a motivator. It we get a high from it because it's a win. So we go woohoo, right? And then there's a crash, and we don't like the crash, and we don't want to be present with our emotions, and so we create additional struggles. And it's just a mechanism because we have all this unresolved trauma in our system or unresolved issues that we don't want to look at. So we create these highs and lows. So we're focused on that. So we don't have to be focused on what's really bothering us.
Oh, that right there.
Yeah.
The distraction of if I'm in struggle, if I'm in the fight, if I'm in the challenge, then I don't have to resolve or look at these deeper underlying shadows
Right.
that are really what's popping up to the surface to try to get our attention, and we're actually pushing that away. Yeah. Protestant work ethic, another lovely
Yeah.
factor
Yeah.
in our cultural development here in the United States. So, can you say a little more of like the impact when we wear our suffering as like a badge of honor, when we wear the struggle as the badge of honor? Like, what is that doing at this universal soul level?
Yeah. I mean, sorry, there's a lot going on in my head. So some of us wear it as a badge of honor, like we're struggling. And to me, that's victim energy, right?
Mhm.
Some of us wear it, but you can't really see it until we flash it because we don't want to flash it because we want to move through the struggle and not let anyone know we're struggling. And that's like a martyr, right? I think the impact is we're so busy trying to straighten that out that we're not hearing the soul's calling in a bigger, clearer way. I think the impact of that is we're a bunch of wild children, like what's the book with Lord of the Flies, that we're not, focused on like really solving problems that are truly solvable. That I think that's the problem. We're so busy being busy in our pain that we're not really experiencing even the beauty or the depth of what this experience offers.
Yes. I love that you also brought up Lord of the Flies. Fun fact, that is literally one of my favorite books. And I think it is
Love
very
that. And I'm also very disturbed all at the same way.
it became one of my favorite books in 7th grade, for the record. If that tells you any of how Safrianna was a little child doing the collective shadow work, because I was like, wow, this is humanity in a book, and I'm 12, right?
Yeah.
Like, nuts. But oh my gosh, what a just timely reminder of the human struggle, and that like it is, we believe it's our nature to go into that, but I really think it is a larger part of nurture, because when we really get into our soul selves, when we really get grounded, like we're unconditionally loving beings, and we don't believe that we need to be in this struggle. But when that
And
comes down,
and the unconditional beings, they get picked on, actually. I mean, that's the only way to say it, right? Like, you know, they get, there's been a tradition of burning, you know, sacrificing, hanging. Like, there's a bunch of things that aren't really great about those unconditional beings. We're not taught that being, and listen, if you're, there's no such thing as unconditional love. There's love or everything else, right? If you're in a condition, you're not in the consciousness of love. Right? We're taught that it's not strong, that it's not, except in a Hallmark version, that it's not powerful. We're taught that being love, it is weak in a lot of, very tangible ways. Love or codependent, like we're taught it's codependence, right? Like,
mhm.
so we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. So we have to actually create this way of being in alignment for ourselves and our soul. And when we do that, we step into that consciousness of love, and then we can offer that to others, and they can get on our bus or not. But I'm hoping more people will get on our bus because that would help the world in a huge way.
Yeah, and that brings up self-worth, right? There's a lot of the issue of I think not being able to tune into the difference between love and everything else is self-worth, and so much judgment. And self-worth and struggle go hand in hand. If we believe we deserve to struggle, if we believe that that is the only way we can give penance. I mean, this is a spiritual podcast
Oh,
and
penance.
religious podcast in many ways, because I break down spirituality, and I think that penance piece is huge. Like, if I'm not struggling, I'm not proving that I'm
I'm worthy for
worthy.
God's love. Roll the
Yep.
eye. I love the original Latin translation of sin. I don't know what the Latin word is. Somebody will correct me. But it just means off the mark, right? And I love that
Yeah.
because then you get to readjust how you're hitting the mark or readjust the mark, so to speak. You know, if we were to throw everything that we've been taught on the ground and only really pick up those things that truly resonate with our soul, we wouldn't have to have conversations about penance. And we have free will, we have choice. So we have to keep choosing this moving through struggle with ease. We have to keep choosing to see that it's not really a struggle, it's just a tiny little speed bump. We have to keep choosing to operate from wholeness and completeness. And there are going to be times where there is true struggle because we are stretching ourselves. But most of the struggle that has been truly in my life has been more struggle than I needed to have because I made it more struggle than it needed to be.
Yes.
I'm really good at it, by the way.
We
I should
all
get like
are.
a badge, like I should get like an honor or a crown because I'm really good at
I think so many of us
it.
are, right? And there's so many threads I want to follow here, because like there's the spiritual bypassing thread,
Oh,
which
roll, I
is,
roll again.
yes, very important. There is the ego, right? The ego creating the struggle,
Ego on crack.
and then there is the ability to pivot.
Yeah.
And like that's I want to say something there. I've been in a program where I'm learning more about my human design recently, and completely not teaching about human design, was teaching about worthiness and how we'll like go rooting around in our blueprints, whatever form of blueprint, astrology, soul language, does not matter. Like we will look for an excuse sometimes of, oh, well, this is why I am the way I am. This is why I struggle, because I'm a Pisces, because I'm a manifesting generator, because I'm a whatever. This is why I struggle. And then we create more egoic story struggle,
Yeah.
instead of being like, I'm uniquely me because I have this blueprint and it gives me this gift.
You know what's really like an awareness that I just had from that conversation is no one has ever used those words with soul language. No one has ever said, "Oh, this is why I am unworthy," or "This is why." No, and that's like a big light moment. What soul language gives them the capacity to do is to understand and accept how worthy they are. So they're not looking for their shadow to everything. They're not looking for the problem. They are guided towards the solution,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I love that. There's like so many things happening in my head. And what I think the problem of the big metaphysical um, coaching community, right, is the fear plucking and the fixing,
Yeah.
right? I'm constantly saying you don't need to be fixed. It's how you use your energy. Are we going to use it like to beat ourselves up? Are we going to use it like, ooh, right? And whichever way you're going to use it, I'm cool, right? And you can be cool with that too if you don't judge yourself about how you're using your energy, right? And so then it becomes just like this fun game. How do you want to use your energy today? Well, I want to use it in a good way for my, to love myself, first myself and then for others. Or I want to use it to beat myself up today. Okay, enjoy it, Jen.
Yeah. Have fun with that question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I had my soul language session, like I remember there being like, here's what this really looks like in an alignment, and here's where to know that you're not doing that, so that you can pivot right back into alignment. And I do love that. Like the pivot is something I've been focusing on,
Love that.
is in that moment where I'm like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. This is so hard. Being like, whoa, you have the privilege of being able to do this. You get to work from home. You get to set your own schedule. You
Yeah.
get to like, and then when you start getting to the what you're allowed to do and what the good things in this are, what the possibilities are, it starts to get you out of that struggle. And like I've been really tangibly noticing that in the pivot lately.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I mean, you know, may I share your soul language with people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So your soulful personality, which is a category. So there's three: your mission, how you feel that mission, and your soulful personality. We identified your soulful personality alone, and it's called collaborator, right? And so it's all about collaboration with yourself, with your soul, with the universe, with people. And anytime you move out of collaboration or co-creation, you're gonna feel like you're struggling.
It's true.
Right? And okay, Jen, that's pretty black and white. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Not easy, but simple, right? And so my business energy is a collaborator, right? And when I first identified that, I was like, well, screw that. I've had collaborations that have cost me $5,000. Like, what? No. Okay, so we picked this to create more evolution, right? So I always look at misalignment, struggle, not enough, however you want to, when I remember. I always look at it like, there's more goodness coming, right? I feel separate. How do I close that gap, right? And I think some people are addicted to the gap,
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
Because they're addicted to fixing themselves. And then healers not only are addicted to fixing themselves, but can be addicted to fixing others. And that's just exhausting.
Yeah.
Exhausting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
No.
No,
No, that sounds so miserable.
it is miserable.
But yes, I think that when we can identify that space of pivot, when we can identify like this is what it does look like out of alignment, I don't get to use that excuse anymore because it is just that. It's the tangible reminder. Going back to the sin thing, I was in Unity Church for a long time. I was a prayer chaplain with them. And if you're not familiar with Unity out there, it is Christian and also
New age
kind of
thinking.
not. It's new agey. It incorporates other stuff. And they look at Jesus as a teacher and a way shower and a brother, not the God that he was trying to teach us. We are God, and that he is God, yes, but that we are God. And sin, the way they teach it, is getting off your path. It's turning against yourself. It's pivoting it away from your soul and towards misalignment. And so I love that reframing of when we get out of that mentality of like, I am inherently bad and wrong, and we can start to step into, no, I'm either harmonized and aligned with my soul and my expression, or I'm disharmonized and in distortion. And that is simply an invitation to come back.
Yeah.
But
I never believed that I was inherently bad. You know, I do, like most people, have self worth issues. And for me, it's a skill builder. Every time I'm like in lack of worth, I'm like, oh, we're building a new skill here. Okay. That's again, after I like cry or, you know, I emote or, you know, have a conversation with, you know, a mentor or a friend, because it's easy sometimes to really get wrapped up in it. And when we are wrapped up in it, we're looking for a solution to why instead of taking a step on choice.
yes, yes. And choice. We disempower ourselves by believing we don't have choice. We'll say that, like, I don't have a choice. There's nothing I can do here all the time. And that is creating more struggle. There are so few actual things we don't have a choice in.
Yeah.
I'll say on calls all the time, like, you could shut down this call right now, walk out of your house, and not talk to me ever again if you wanted. Like, that might not be what you want, but you do have that choice. So I want to talk a little bit about how struggle becomes like a survival pattern, like it becomes a part of people pleasing and perfectionism too. So, how does struggle convince us we're still in relationship? How does struggle convince us we're safe?
Because it's familiar and we know it, right? And so the pattern creates this false or illusion or temporary feeling in our body like, I know what this is like. I'm good. I know how this goes. Where stretching or joy, we're unfamiliar with what that feels like, or that might feel foreign or temporary.
Hmm.
And so the survival, the struggle feels so natural. It doesn't mean we like it, it feels natural. That it gives us this, it creates this false illusion in our body of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As does people pleasing and perfectionism.
All of it. And that's all just the way you do struggle or the way you are in your kind of false zone of safety, right?
Mm. The false zone of safety.
Safety.
I
Dun,
love
dun,
that.
dun.
How do we convince ourselves that we are safe when we're really in the false zone of safety? What does that look like?
So you have to keep activating safety in your body, using your body to do that. And we call that divine intelligence. That's my word for the body. It does not have free will. It's our mind and our soul that has free will. So if we go divine intelligence, fill us with the feeling and knowing that we're safe. I'm going to yawn because that's what happens when I do it, right? You're going to feel, even if you've never felt it before, if you get on that bus, you will feel it. And you keep activating it. And that safety starts to fill your cellular memory, and then that's your new set point.
Mm.
And then you're going to want to expand, and you want to have more, and you want to experience more goodness, and the cycle is going to start all over again, so you can have a bigger set point of safety, peace, harmony, abundance, joy, whatever that is.
I love that reminder to really be with the body. Like, the body is the temple. It's here. It's walking through life. But yes, the soul and the mind are really playing director in all of that. And so, as much as we're thinking ourselves into struggle, our body is going to respond in struggle. So if we can,
Well, it doesn't have free will. So if you think it, right, it's like, I'm starving. No, every cell in your body's not starving. You're feeling hungry, right? So if we start to watch what we're saying to our body and directing it, then it will respond accordingly.
yeah. So I want to break down the difference between building the skill and expanding our capacity versus spiritual bypassing. Because I talk a lot about spiritual bypassing. It's a topic that comes up a lot on this podcast. I am very anti spiritual bypassing. I am very
Wait, do
much.
you know anyone who's for spiritual bypassing?
I do. I
Oh,
do. I
I'm
talk
sorry
about.
for you.
I know, right? They're not really in my life these days, but I talk about this incident where I was absolutely flabbergasted that a spiritual teacher who I was sitting in front of live started talking about shape shifting her shadows away. She would just turn them into a lion, or she'd turn them into a squirrel, and she would just send them away. And I'm like,
What?
what? And she was teaching this in a class. Two people, myself, one of the, I quit the class very, very shortly after that. But yes, I do know people who are like, spiritual bypassing is a tool. It's a way to transcend and rise above. No, it's not. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you actually in the struggle. So that's where I want to break down. Like, we're meant to build the skill
Uh,
and move
I
on.
I'm speechless.
You're
Normally I have words, but I have no words. Okay, I'm gonna have to sit with that one for a minute. Um, Here's the biggest spiritual bypass I see with spiritual people. I'm gonna use quotes. Well, it must be divine timing. No, no, there's your timing, which is divine timing, right? Like, yeah, it takes a little time for the divine to bring everything together, the universe, right? But there's no such thing as divine timing. It's like you're giving away, and you can't give away your power, but you're giving your power over to this thing called the divine, right? I've seen people this is another way if you can understand your spiritual bypassing, is your relationship with divinity, right? Are you treating it like Santa Claus, the naughty or nice list?
Mm.
Is it the white knight in shining armor, right? Right? Like, notice what your relationship is with whatever you call your higher power. Is it this or is it this? If it's this, that's a spiritual bypass. If it's this, keep going, right? Um, yeah, I think spiritual bypass for me feels untangible. It feels um, ungrounded. It feels as if um, it feels like the great Oz behind the curtain. There's something moving, you can't put your hand on it. And um, I think the people that do the less spiritual bypassing are the ones that do the most asking of questions of themselves.
Ownership, right? Getting into our own stuff. This has been a huge theme lately. I love the way that you've articulated this.
Thank you.
This equality piece, being on the same playing field as the quote unquote divine versus a hierarchy, because we also use this to make excuses for struggle and poor choices. I am so over people blaming demons and
Yeah.
and Satan and like whatever outside force for why they themselves are making bad choices.
I had a networking thing last week, and I don't have a poker face. And I was talking. She was very Christian oriented. I'm okay, like, I don't care. But she's like, okay, so, well, what do you say when people say, like, or what do you do when there might be I'm not going to say the word demonic. Thank you. Present. I can't even say the word presence. I was like, yeah, no. I'm like, those things aren't on my radar. Like, why would they be on my radar? Like, I'm not even playing or offering weight to that, right? And I'm very clear about that's why we use the body's divine intelligence to make our connections, because it doesn't have free will, so it will get you exactly in touch with what you're asking. Or I don't like when people are like, well, I've been killed a million times for speaking my truth in my past lives. I'm like, great, they don't have any, like, they don't get to play here, right? I think that, sorry, I'm having a moment. I know
I've
that
stunned you.
I know that the first person that I go to blame for almost everything in my life is me. Like, I don't know if that's healthy enough, but right, right, it's not like, oh, I must have a past life, or oh, this is my human design element, or I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. No, I tune inward and go, okay, why is my ego on crack, not interacting with my soul? How do we get back into alignment?
How do we get back into alignment?
Yeah. And I think also when people fall into that traps, I think the way they fall into that trap is they are so looking for answers outside of them that they had some conversation with some intuitive, some coach, something that goes, here's the answer, and they're like, oh, I have an answer, and they've hung their hat on that answer in a way to make sense of their world, instead of looking at the seed behind, or the root behind what's going on in the world.
Yes. And that's the opposite of spiritual bypassing, is going and being willing to dive into your inner world to get curious. Is it healthy to go and blame yourself first?
Probably not.
I don't, on one hand, I'm like, yes, it's just the wording, right?
Yes.
It's just the wording of it. Cause yes, I believe we should look within ourselves first for where's this misalignment happening? Why am I feeling misery? my, my, I love to use tarot as a tool to explore my inner world and call myself out. And my cards have certainly been calling me out on the like, hey, remember, You created your circumstances. Your choices brought you here.
Yeah.
That is reality.
Yeah.
Our I mean, maybe not our choices as a child, right? But as adults, as certified adults,
Right.
do have power. The rest is just a story in our head of the
Yeah,
struggle.
and a very well placed story. And listen, I might sound a little judgmental. I'm not. If I might be a little, but if you want to create and live by spiritual bypass, go for it. If that truly makes you happy and you're not causing harm in the world, live your best life. But I think my people want more truth, more integrity, more honest, more connection. And to experience all that, what is icky and sticky in the body, what is shadow or not enough, gets to be reorganized for something better, something more whole and complete.
Yes. So I want to talk about that. Really releasing these beliefs, releasing the belief that we need to struggle and stepping into our aligned power. What are some ways that you guide people or you encourage people to really begin to do that release and that embodying who they really are?
Yeah, I mean, we would set up a conversation with their soul, and their soul would give them the roadmap and the facts. I would suggest that they keep activating safety through their divine intelligence. I would suggest them to start asking the question, if I knew I was whole and complete, what would I say? What would I do? What would I express here? I mean, those are a couple tangible tools. Um, having that conversation, there's multiple. One of the things that I've done with clients is just have them go back to factory settings, right? That moment where they knew that they were wholly complete,
Hmm.
and start to live from there. And it's a constant dismantling of the belief system of where you got it. Well, where you got it's not really important. It's how you want to unravel it and what do you want to do from here. And sometimes that takes time, and sometimes that, can happen within seconds. It depends on how many other things are attached to that belief.
So when I want to ask, like, for you to share a little bit more about this. How does one talk to their soul? I think it's probably a lot more straightforward than people think, but like, let's just hear
Oh,
about it. What does it look like?
yeah. So, I mean, we identify their, and I say we because I teach other people to do this, we identify their three core energies of soul, and then we create a conscious connection using their divine intelligence and, their soul languages. You can simply say, divine intelligence, create a conscious connection with my soul, get on the bus, know it's complete, and then start to ask questions. What most people will say, well, it's, well, how do I know I'm talking to my soul versus my ego? It's all the same thing. You're just hearing it through layers, right? So even when you're having a conversation with your ego, you're still talking to soul. It's just a little tainted with layers and belief systems. Your soul is always going to be grandiose, and it's going to give you a big picture. It's not going to say anything you're afraid of in the moment. You might be afraid of what's going to happen if you take that leap. And it's never going to say anything you don't resonate with. It will say things that you're in resistance with. Right? And normally, people have been hearing their soul all along because they're like, I've gotten that answer a million times. Okay, let's talk about why you're not listening to it. Right? Let's talk about why you're like, no, that's not good enough. Like, I want a different answer. Okay. I mean, we've all done it, right? You shuffle those cards and you ask a question, and you get the answer, and you shuffle them again. And you're like, I shuffled these cards really good. How did this card come up again? Right? Like, your soul is talking to you through the cards. Right. And I believe that your answers start and end with your soul, right? I teach people a coding process where we bring all the metaphysical support team partners together, your guides and teachers, your masters, your angelic realms, right? But it starts and ends with your soul. Like, you are the final answer.
Yeah, and I love just that you are the final answer. Like, I say all the time, we have seen and unseen supporters and helpers and allies. Some of them less tangible than others, but we're the filter for both of that. We are the ultimate filter. And yeah, whenever somebody's like, is it my soul or my ego? For me, I know it is always my soul, that layer first, and then the second layer that comes in with the doubt is the ego trying to make sense of it, and we go back to the next layer up, right? you'll, you'll
And it might be reversed for some people, right? They might hear the first layer and then there's an underlining layer,
drop
right?
in.
Right, that drops in. And it's not going to sound like marketing speak. So stop trying to make it sound like marketing speak. Right? And understand your database. Right? I was talking to a client the other day. I'm like, okay, I don't understand that visual. And they're like, well, tell me, I might understand it. I was like, no, you won't, because this is my database and it's a visual that I understand. Like, it was a cartoon reference. I'm like, I get the cartoon reference, but I don't understand. I can't make the loop. So I have to ask another question, right? Like, I get Star Trek references, I get cartoon references, right? Like, I understand my database because I understand what I love. You have to understand your database, right? And you also have to accept that my database is going to be different than your database, right?
Mm-hmm.
And understand, are you getting it in body? Are you getting visuals? Are you getting sound? Are you getting smell? Not a good Claire, by the way. But I mean, it's the oldest Claire, but so
A little confusing.
Like, I only get smell when it's kind of a, like, be aware, like, or when my grandfather's in the room, because he always smells like limes, which is so weird. He didn't smell like that in life, so I don't know. But every time I smell limes, I'm like, there's no limes around. Pop-ups here, right? So understand how that works for you, and keep a journal as you're developing that skill. So you could go, oh, I got this, and then this happened, or I got this, and this is what it meant. So you don't have to spend a lot of time figuring it out.
Well, and on the topic of struggle, often when we get that initial information, we struggle to make sense of it rather than going, okay, thank you for the information, let it go, and let the sense arise
Right.
with time and space and the soul being online. Like, we don't have to struggle with what we receive either. We can just receive it and know that it'll make sense with its own time.
Yeah, I mean, I went down to say something to Warner, like I was coming down the stairs, and something came out of my mouth, like I wasn't even aware of it was saying. And he's like, I was just thinking about that, and I wanted to talk to you about that. And I was like, like sometimes, things just come out, and be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes. Being uncomfortable or being comfortable in the uncomfortable is not a good built skill of humanity right now, but we are working on expanding it. On that note, what does authentic transformation actually require, and why are people so scared to do it?
It requires practice, it requires commitment, and it requires courage. And I think people are scared about it because, A, it's not instant. I mean, it can be instant, but transcendence takes practice. And because I think they're secretly thinking that they're God, universe, tree, Bob, cupcake, whatever you call that. And your soul is going to say, you know what, Jennifer, you do suck. And that never, ever is going to happen. But I think that's why people are so afraid of it. They're afraid of it because their worst fears about themselves are going to be confirmed. And they're afraid to look that shadow in the face and go, yeah, I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. It's so true. It's so true. And we're here to remind you that the shadow is not so scary when you have the presence to drop in and when you develop these tools and you can talk to your soul. So, as we wind down our time together today, Jennifer, I'd love for you to just really speak directly to your soul language. From my understanding, you're almost like the person who brought this into the world. Like you were
Oh
the
yeah.
doula for this more than the quote unquote inventor of soul language. You brought it into the world. You birthed it, but it is its own soul and entity in a way. It feels like.
Yeah, it has its it's an evolution. It has its own life force. The I'm the kind of grid master, the gatekeeper of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, would you just share how does knowing your soul language help you get out of the energy of struggle?
it's a safe harbor. It's a knowing. It's a way to take internal and external action to make a decision to be whole and complete. Like it's never about codependence. It's always about co-creation. So it allows me to come back to co-creation every time.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, if people want to co create with you and learn their own soul language, where's the best place to reach you?
So I'm on all the social media, but I think the best place is at soullanguage.us. There's a section there where you can get a discovery session. I want people to experience the work for themselves, see if it resonates with them, and then move forward. Um, because transformation is not for the faint of heart.
It's not, and it takes courage. It takes an
Yeah.
immense amount of courage and patience and willing to be in the practice. And, since I've learned my soul language of collaborator, I have thought very routinely about how I am showing up in my collaborations. And, does this feel good for my soul and in my body and all of that? So it's such a fun invitation. I invite you to go check out Jennifer's work and go to her website if you feel called to. And otherwise, is there anything else today about the topic of struggle that you would like to leave as a note of hope for people, or
Hmm.
just any other words of wisdom that want to come?
So, in the words of Borg, resistance is futile. It is. It's futile.
Yeah.
So the sooner you realize that, the easier you can move into acceptance. And when you release the struggle, you're not surrendering. You're accepting. You're allowing for something new to be created and for you to come back to your biggest power, which is your essential nature.
Mm. Quotes, t-shirts, bumper stickers. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I very much appreciate it. And I hope to whoever listens to or watches this episode that you really take away some permission to listen to yourself, some permission to take some ownership, some permission to step out of the struggle and to actually allow yourself to thrive in who you came here to be, what you came here to do. We are cheering you on. So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, my friends, I'm Safrianna Luna, and this has been another episode of The Shadow Side. Until next time, I see you, I believe in you, and I'm cheering you on. Bye for now.